science, as it were, just like we'll be sampling the storage of medicines at Chilenje. I don't know if it's first level or second level, whatever it's called, just to acquaint ourselves as a committee, even as we make, as we proceed to make recommendations. So, honorable colleagues, we open up page 27 on the submission, which is the issue to do with mSAT. You can proceed to ask further questions. Then we proceed to the issue of desks. Then now our guide then will revert back to where we left out yesterday. And if there's any other issue, honorable colleagues, you can raise it as we proceed. Even on the things we looked at, I know we're compounding things due to time, so that we just have a solid recommendation. You can proceed. Thank you. Honorable Miller can proceed.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you also for the opportunity to just clarify some of the things that arising from the mSAT contract or agreement. So in the response, the response is that following the failure of this whole project, the ministry had engaged mSAT Limited and had written to the company, but no feedback has been received. Now, it is also clear that whatever mSAT aimed to do has been done away with, and that there is another tool which the ministry has come up with to capture the statistics. So, what exactly, it's my question now, what exactly have you written to mSAT for, and what would you want them to do now that, you know, that tool has been phased out? So what are you expecting them in their feedback? And further, some schools paid money. So what happens to the funds from the schools in the provinces that did not even receive the training? I submit, Chair.
Thank you. And while the question is being answered, PS, we request that we have a cite of that agreement which was done. If you have it, you can bring it to the clerk. We'll make photocopies, and members can appreciate to that effect. So there's a question from Honorable Mula. Any other question? PS, I think Technical Services, she is the one who was dealing with this matter. Maybe PS Technical Services, you can proceed and help us. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. As already guided earlier, we did acknowledge that one, after the auditors had made their observations, this was agreed with the observation of the auditors. Therefore, it became apparent, wanted them to give us what you call an exit report, which in itself will indicate what did they spend, what remained where, which ones did they cover, and what did they not cover. Just for purposes also of accountability, because they were getting resources from schools going into a particular account which exists in the agreement of the HRB in this account. So we want them to account for what they did, and we want a report which is exhaustive, that responds to what they did and did not do. Lastly, we want them to be able to give us the resources back, those that they did not utilize. And we think that having engaged them amicably, like I indicated yesterday, that if they decide to continue to be aloof, then we engage the necessary arms of government in order to be able to recover those resources, because they were not resources for personal good, they were for intended project. Insofar as it did not achieve its goal, at least we want the monies agreed on. The agreements, I would ask the Directorate ICT to be able to submit before this committee, because I do know it exists.
Thank you. The Director ICT, or I don't know if it's former director, whoever was making submission yesterday here. Where is he?
Yeah, I can't see him. Yeah, Chair.
His director, HR, however, please do get in touch with our ICT or former ICT, I don't know, whoever is sitting there, it's important that we have a sight of that agreement before we adjourn, and members can look at that issue critically. I think the issue of the agreement is very important. Any other question on mSAT? Honorable okay, I have an agreement before us here. Maybe we just run some copies. Thank you, honorable colleagues. As we are waiting for the Director ICT, any further questions to this matter? Honorable Mula, do you have a follow-up question? Honorable Mfarari can proceed.
Chair, I'm not able to understand what the controlling officer means when he says he wants a thorough audit to be done in order for them to know who did what and where the money and the expenditure and so forth. I wanted to know which wing or which department are they referring to that should do that work he's talking about.
Thank you. Director Education Services, you can proceed and clarify on those issues the honorable members raised. Thank you.
Thank you. As per standard government procedure, I'm sure we know that once we've reached a certain point, unless I'm misinforming, and I'm under oath not to misinform, so I'll try and ensure that I say what is correct. We believe that beyond discussing the way we've done with them, and the fact that they are not responding, now we do need, obviously, to be able to take this matter to a step where we are going to ask to access, one, accounts. I believe that is what is right. Two, we want them just to give us what you call an exit report at where we ended, what really happened, because this will help us. We do have what they gave us this far, but we do not have an exit report with them. And we believe this will help us take the next corrective measure. I seek your indulgence, committee.
The agreement is being photocopied, honorable colleagues. I think AG had the copy, so we'll circulate it so that you can also have you can appreciate. Yeah, honorable Muila, then honorable Mfarari.
Yeah, so I wanted to look at the agreement so that we see on what basis the PS's comment is based. Because usually if it is a commercial contract, there are all those clauses that have to deal with a default by either party and recourse, if any. You know, including, we know what happens in government. First, the Attorney General clears, but in this case, the Attorney General was not even involved. And usually that's the office where recourse goes if the other party, especially if it's not the government. You go back to Minister of Justice that, you know, we are not making progress, and this is the contract that you cleared. Now, in this case where the Attorney General was not even involved, they never looked at that agreement, they never cleared it or objected to it. So when you say you take other actions as government, on what basis and whom are we going to run to enforce, you know, the shortcomings that have arisen? But maybe you know the clauses or whatever contents of that agreement, you can share with the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, honorable Mfarari.
Chair, you forgive me when the questions were being asked on this mSAT, I was not there. I might repeat some of the questions. I just want to know what really transpired. If Honorable Muila's comment is anything to go by, one would ask and say, who authorized the procurement or procurement, according to Jack Mwimbu, procurement of this mSAT to this ministry, who gave approval or authority? Could we have a look at the authority that could have either come from the controlling officer or from the MPC? May we have a look at that?
Thank you. PS Education Services, you can proceed and answer those questions.
Thank you, Chair. As already alluded to yesterday, I think we did indicate that the committee may wish to note that the ministry did not enter into a commercial contract with mSAT. Instead, the service was deemed an agreement between mSAT and the schools to assist the schools in collection of data. I was the principal player at the point when my colleague was away, and that's how I was encouraged by the IT department to proceed and sign the agreement as an option to what was said and pointed out as not procedural, which I think was acknowledged yesterday. And to answer further, that at the point we've reached, it's obviously that mSAT is aware that this issue is in public domain, and I still believe that if we are not using the auditor's office, which has pointed to us what is wrong, there's still the recourse for us to be able to take them before even our own police and recover the money. Because they are a legit organization that is servicing. Even as I speak, I think they're running something with health. And if we get to know they're a problem and we leave it, maybe this will proceed elsewhere. That would be my submission to suffice for now.
The Honorable Muela's question.
Honorable Muela's question, I don't know, I've submitted up to this point, and I think I will not engage in, I would want to be guided how the House feels we should proceed with the matter, as I am not the most wise in this House. When something has gone wrong, I would rather be guided how we correct it.
Honorable Mparari.
Chair, I know the controlling officer here who was sitting in as the controller at the time when the colleague, as he has put it, was out. There could have been documentation that you were doing. Government is one system that is so bureaucratic, and every stage of your dealing you must put up a writing in order to use it as a fallback in case things go wrong. Do you have any documentation related to this mSAT thing from the officers you are sitting there as controller to guide the officers that were to take over these projects in terms of training, in terms of procuring or procuring these systems? Did you put up any writing so that we have a look at it?
Chair, I wish to submit that.
Just before we proceed, PS. Thank you, PS, and please speak through the chair. First and foremost, what we're trying to drive to PS, first and foremost, is we want to see if PSA will have recourse to government in an event that this agreement, the direction is taking, and we'll be able to advise what we are perceiving as a committee. Secondly, what recourse do we have? Because if you are dealing with any government institution, I think a recourse, like Honorable Muela is saying, is through the Attorney General's chambers. And looking at from your submission as a ministry, this is not, you are saying it's not a contract, it's an agreement. But if you look at the way it's phrased, it's saying contract agreement between. Then they're saying a contract. And for them, this can be possible. But how do we ensure that we have a backup? Did they provide the bonds for this? No. Did this thing go through procurement process? No. It was an agreement to like you've submitted. I think that's why we are laboring now to try and understand how do we salvage ourselves out of this so-called agreement. So I allow you, PS, to proceed and make a comment. As members, I allow my members to go through quickly and pick one or two issues from this agreement. PS, you can proceed.
Thank you, Chair. I wish to report that on 17th March 2022, there was a correspondence that indicated, written to us by mSAT, that digitalization of the Ministry of Education annual census form, which indicated the targeted dates. This was written to me and also copied to Permanent Secretary Admin. Further, I think there was then further a first report that was given between 17th and 18th April. And if you follow that pattern, it began on a very good note. But subsequently, along the way, they did submit that they were finding it difficult, as not schools were finding it difficult to meet their demands. And so they began to resist to attend those workshops, and ultimately I think they did submit that they were finding it difficult to complete what they started. So beyond this, like I submitted earlier, I will take it that the committee will guide how we should proceed. I am not wiser than all the people asking me. And I submit, if something was not done right, it wasn't done right. I submit.
Thank you. Honorable colleagues, I hope you are perusing through the contract. Honorable Mfarari, do you have a follow-up question?
Chair, I have looked at this contract. I don't know whether this is a contract or whatever it is called. Controlling officer, admin. We have an ear to the ground, and we want things done in an orderly manner in terms of how the ministries and how government institutions, public funds are being used. This agreement, if it's an agreement at all, there's only one signature. The so-called mSAT has not signed anything. The IT person, Moses Piri, has not signed. And the controlling officer of Permanent Secretary Educational Services, I don't know whether this is his signature. It's perceived that he signed. What was really happening here? Where public funds, this mSAT has access to public funds, they collect these monies, and upon collection these monies, yet they are collecting the monies and they have not agreed to anything, or they have not put their signatures to it. Secondly, any ministry, I don't know whether Ministry of Education has a legal person, is supposed to be guided before they enter an agreement with any institution, because this is a public institution, it's not a private institution. They are guided, and even yesterday you talked of being guided by the Attorney General. You literally put up something and the Attorney General will go and look at it and see what clauses are in there and see whether a government stands a chance in case of any difficulties into the future. Now, this one, was it approved by the Auditor General? Those are some of the questions that I would ask. There is no signature to it. Yes, Attorney General. Was it? Did he go through it to ascertain that the clauses therein actually are good enough? Secondly, why no signatures? And there is from schools. Why I was saying we are on the ground, there are people in your ministry, there are DEBs, provincial officers, who are using officers to collect monies in schools for certain projects and so forth, maybe without even your approval. This is a concern. And we want things to change. I think we are looking for a better change. We want things that are done in a manner that is orderly. And that's why we are asking on this mSAT thing to understand what was really going on here. Because we have to be serious as a country to go in this fashion.
Thank you, Honorable Mwila.
Chair, I was consulting when the Honorable was submitting that maybe I heard something. What I want to find out if the ministry has got an in-house legal person within the ministry.
PS, where's your legal person from the ministry?
He's not. I don't think he was invited.
Please,
But we have a legal.
can you
We
call
have
them?
actually 3.
Sorry, PS, can you call those legal persons from your ministry? I think someone should be around. Call them and let them come, so that we can ask them what job they are doing in the ministry. And if you don't need them, we recommend that they go to justice or elsewhere. Yeah. So there's a question, I think, PS Technical Services from Honorable Mfarari. And where I'm sitting, the 2 PSs, this is saying it's a contract. So let's not abbreviate it for an agreement. It's an enforceable contract because it's even written contract agreement. But we did not follow the process, and it's a very weak contract because you have standard contracts which you do as a ministry. I think it's not the first time you are doing this thing, and I think where we're coming in, like Honorable Ferrari is saying, these are public funds, and then we need to follow the standard procedure to engage and also have a standard contract, as it were, cleared by the Office of the Attorney General of all the encumbrances. And if that's why it's got special what do you call it, special conditions. Why we have special conditions is to guide us, to also help us as the ministry. That's why we also take it for clearance, because the Attorney General should say, in an event of A, B, C, D, the ministry or the government will have recourse to its funds, also vis-a-vis the supplier, as it were. So I want the PS Education Services, yes, we made your submission that by the end of the day, yes, we are going to guide, but we want to extinguish and to see to it that PS admin, even yourself and the PS Education Services, that this issue does not repeat itself in the ministry. And I think you are very seasoned people. We shouldn't even be dealing with this issue of such an agreement or contract as it were, because it's weak. And we don't know how even your legal department, because there should be a legal person to clear this in the ministry, to say proceed and go ahead, but there's nothing. And maybe also provide us with a fully signed copy, maybe, if you have it at all. Maybe this was just provided to Auditor General for them to peruse, but if you have a fully signed, so that we can look at it and appreciate as well as a committee. So with that said, PS Education Services, you can proceed and answer Honorable Ferrari's questions. Thank you.
Thank you, members of this House. I hear the concerns you are raising, and I do acknowledge that, as already pointed out by the auditors, there was a mistake. Nonetheless, what I sense, which I wouldn't want to appear to defend myself, is that when you ask an officer and you work together and they submit an incomplete side document, I find it difficult to say much, because as far as I'm concerned, there was a fully signed document and I was given to understand that what we were doing was right. Nonetheless, legal then wrote to Attorney General. So for me, the lawyers are not to blame. They did guide later that this was not the right way to go. And I think even when the auditors came, they did point out that this was weak, this was not properly done, and I think we've not disputed any of their observations. My submission is that when you work, you learn by the mistakes you make, but obviously, I shouldn't make mistakes to cost government loss of revenue when we're supposed to be progressing. So for me, I'm willing to be carpeted, to be taken to task, because I was the one working with this particular department, and I would rather take responsibility. Admin did her bit when she discovered that something had gone wrong, and she did indicate that this matter would be a difficult matter to handle. So we do submit that, as indicated, we stand to be guided how to proceed from here. For I can only but submit that before you, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable colleagues, that's a submission from the PS Education Services. Honorable Wamnyima, Then Honorable Mfarari.
Chair, thank you very much.
Honorable Mfarari, was that indication? Maybe before Honorable Wamima you come in, since you've just come, maybe let me allow Honorable to do a follow-up question, then you follow after. Honorable Mfarari can proceed.
Thank you, Chair. The question I had to the admin, controlling officer or payment secretary admin acting or in place of this colleague was, government is a very bureaucratic system. It uses a lot of bureaucracy. But in there lies systems that should be checked or checkered when time comes. My question to you was, at the time of you trying to come up with this agreement or with this procurement of these services of mSAT, there must be a record somewhere where you indicated or the department requested for this. Did the department, this department is called what? ICT department. Did this department request for these services? If they requested for these services, could we have in writing from the director ICT Moses Piri writing to the controlling officer requesting for these e-census for them to utilize? Who generated this, in short? Who wanted to have this system in place? If the department wrote to you, and what was your response? Because it's all these things that we are looking at to understand where the problem is or where the problem will lie. So could you just indicate to us who wrote, why the ICT director?
Mic, and Honorable, give me the mic. I think we've requested for the ICT director to come and the legal team, so that also I think we need that letter with a wrote to the Attorney General, so that we just have sight of it and we can also just appreciate. PS Education Services, I think we can proceed with that question. Thank you.
Thank you very much. First and foremost, if you look back, again, I know the House does not want reference to history. This was written arising from the team that was already working on the desire to meet the 3 booklets, which were census statistics for 21, 22, 23. And there was correspondence. I think that Moses is in a better position to say, which led to them saying, we've made this option in order for us to be able to meet our target. Because at that time, our biggest challenge for me, and why I felt there was need agency, was that we had no statistic bulletins for almost 4 years. And obviously, if we're going to run any huge system, you need information on a daily basis. So I would rather the other questions are answered by IT, but on my part, where I may have erred, I wish to take responsibility and not continue to defend anything that has been cited as inappropriate.
Thank you. PS, Honorable Wamima.
Thank you, Chair, and PS, thank you for submission. Chair, my concern particularly, I think, on this one, which yesterday was not attended to, is what recourse, the 3.6, in the event that there's not been any delivery of the service as agreed. What was the legal safeguard in this document to recover the money? And just to appreciate, Chair, the reason why I'm asking this would even lead me to ask to find out who crafted this document. Where is the source? Maybe PS can help us. Was this crafted by mSAT or it comes from the ministry, so that we can appreciate, why there is no mechanism of recovery in case of failure to deliver? I would like to submit, Chair.
Thank you. Maybe just Honorable who've come to put you to speed pertaining the issue of the recourse. I think that's what we are grappling with now. We've tackled that matter. We've requested for the legal department to come, and PS has explained that there are issues which have not been delivered, and some which are delivered. But what we want, because if you look at this document, I think there is no issue of recourse. So that's why we want the lawyers from the ministry to explain to us what transpired, like you saying, who drafted this, and thereafter they had to write now to Attorney General who did not clear this because it was not sent there. So those are some of the issues we want them to explain, and we've also called for the ICT director who's not here today. I think PS admin and other colleagues have gone outside to call. So that's where we basically are at, and I think that's emanating from Honorable Mfarari's question, because also the issue of tender process was not followed. I think just to bring you to speed, that's where we are. So we also want to understand what recourse. Is this thing enforceable? Because from the ministry's perspective, it's an agreement, but when you look at it, he said contract agreement. It's a contract per se. Now if it's a contract, why did it not go to the Attorney General's chambers? And why did the legal team in the ministry not advise the PS that we cannot proceed as it were? I think I just wanted to bring the three members on to speed, and then now we can proceed and ask a further question to the PS. Yeah, Honorable Wamnyima.
Chair, has there been an explanation on how they were selected?
What's the question to
PS, just to help us understand on how mSAT were selected. Was it a direct bidding? Was it advertised? How were they selected?
Thank you. Honorable Mukumbi, you can proceed.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, for me, it's not about the legal people. It's about the person that committed these funds. And the name is there. We have, I think, Permanent Secretary. You're the one that committed these funds. So, well, in government, you tell your secretary to draft something, they write, and it's up to you. So, unless the PS saying you were signing without reading what was there, which I doubt, you did go through this document. So for me, the buck stops at the PS. He's the one who signed. He must tell us why he signed. And then if we are saying these people will be taken to police, which people? They haven't signed anywhere, unless there's other arguments, Chair. Which people don't take it to police? Because for me, I will refuse to say, where did I sign this agreement? It's like I find somebody on the roadside and I give them money. And then you say, no, I'll take you to police, I gave you money. Where did I sign? That's the meaning of this. So, Chair, the PS must just explain this committee what did it transpire. We have seen a lot of government agreements. This is far from being an official agreement. Unless we are looking at it from another angle. Does this look like an agreement? PS, does it look like an agreement that you can even bring to pack? Chair, no. Chair, no.
Thank you. The PS Educational Services, there are those two questions. From Honorable Wamnyima and Honorable Mukumbi, can proceed.
Thank you, Chair. As already submitted, I wish to let the director come and explain. Because for me, this matter was brought to my attention because I was pushing them over the annual education census forms. If I erred in demanding to have information which helps me to make decisions, I submit that it was my fault. Nonetheless, I did not originate. Who should provide what service? We work via the experts. And I think the 3 years I've been at the ministry, I have not signed anything that I originate because I'm not the expert. I'm given experts who must guide me and ensure that the documentation I sign is appropriate. But I take responsibility for whatever errors will be found because I'm not going to defend myself when it is apparent an error was committed. And alluding to what Honorable Mfarari asked, I think at my point of being made to sign this, my understanding was that this option is allowable in government. But I'm now learning from the auditors and from this interaction that it was not appropriate. And I find it difficult to continue defending what I think is faulty. That's why
Recording in progress.
So Director of Procurement is here, he can tell us. That's all we need to know.
Thank you. Yeah. Honorable Mfarari.
That's the question. I want a paper trail concerning the procurement of these services. I said, who started this process? We were told that the controlling officer acting as admin was given this project to start working on it. It came from somewhere. Now, in government you don't just speak, you act, you write. And that's when the controlling officer acts. So I've asked, could you give us a record of your correspondences between this department and you as controller at that time? Do we have a file concerning this project? If that file is there, can we have a look at it? And who is the project manager for this project?
Thank you.
Yeah, let the controlling officer rush into admitting. We have not yet condemned him or found anything wrong about him. All we want are the processes that are supposed to be followed. We want to understand whether those processes were in place.
Thank you. I think what Honorable Mfarari is saying, we need the user department who originated a memo to say this should be done, how the process ensued and proceeded to the PS to approve, then the procurement process, then now back and forth. So maybe we have a comment first from Head of Procurement, Honorable Wamima's question. Then the Director ICT should tell us how he started this process to reach to the PS, as it were. Honorable Mukumbi.
In addition, we also want to see their annual work plan. If this was part in their annual work plan, because you can't just wake up and start something. It was definitely discussed at the beginning of the year. We know which department was responsible for it, who is the end user, who is going to manage it, who is going to monitor, who is going to implement, and all those stages. So, Chair, we need that information as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Vice Chair, you can ask your question, then I'll direct the questions as it were.
Thank you, Chair. Considering that the project was a failure and the schools were directed to pay 800 to this mSAT, my question to the controlling officer is, was there a pilot project that took place for you to make a decision for this project to be rolled out to all the provinces? Was there a pilot project that showed that it was a successful project? I submit you.
Thank you. So allow Head of Procurement to comment. Then also the PS Education Services, I think you will tackle Honorable Sabao's question afterwards, and I think Honorable Mukumbi issued the annual plan, or I don't know, procurement plan, whatever it's called. Then we still have questions for the Director ICT, Mr. Moses, as he comes to now look at the paper trail, how it moved. That's Honorable Mfarari's question. So Head of Procurement, through the PS, we can proceed and shed more light on this mSAT procurement. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, honorable members of this House. My short comment would be that procurement is guided by the Public Procurement Act. And in there are rules that are supposed to be followed on how every procurement is supposed to be done. And it all starts with the procurement planning process. At the beginning or at the end, towards the end of each year, departments in any ministry have got to what they call work plans. And in those work plans, they have got various activities they are supposed to implement in the following year. So basing on those work plans, departments submit their requirements to the procurement department for procurement planning to be done. And the procurement plan shows the stages that have to be taken and at what point. So in this particular case, I'm not very sure if this issue was in the procurement plan. I haven't checked yet. because like it was alluded to yesterday, I'm quite new in the ministry. But what should be done is that it should be in the procurement plan. Then thereafter, when the time to
procurement order, what we want is the answer. Was it in the procurement plan of the year? Not telling us the processes.
That one I haven't checked. I wouldn't say.
Okay, Honorable Wamnyima. Oh, sorry, Falat.
Chair, I think life has been made simple these days. Where you are seated there, I guess you have an iPad or a laptop or direct. And it gives you within, I think, within your plans, even when you came in, you must have procurement plans as far back as 2021 under your department. So it's a question of a click, you click a button and you check whether that thing was there or not. Oh.
Sim.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Director of Procurement, we appreciate that you're well versed with what the Act provides. But if you heard my initial question, is how did you procure this contract? Simple. What method was used? And Honorable Mukundi has asked about the plan. I think that you have to go straight and not start explaining the guidelines and so forth.
So, Director, respond to questions.
Okay. Okay, my response is that this issue never came to Procurement Department. There is no record in Procurement Plan in the department that it came, because all procurements are supposed to be requested for, initiated by the user department, the controlling officers endorsing or clearing the procurement, and the procurement starts the process. But there is nothing like initiation to the procurement. There is literally nothing. I end there, Chair.
So, according to your submission, states that this project was between the Office of the PS and IT. Procurement was not involved, Honorable Members.
Yes, Chair.
Honorable Amim.
Chair, then we can be guided on, because if procurement is not involved in a procurement, I mean, what was happening? Can we be guided? Because this PS was procurement of services. And it is, so what happened? That procurement office was not involved in the procurement.
Madam Controlling Officer, there are 3 questions that were asked by honorable members.
Chair, I don't even know how to start from anything. I have absolutely no clue. That's why I said from inception that kindly, if my colleague...
The
yes,
PS,
please.
second.
Chair, systems must work. At the time, controlling officer, when you were out of your office, those who were in your office or those who were doing certain things should have given you a report of what transpired. And even after this procurement was done, if you are now going to tell this committee that you had no clue, you must have a clue, because you came and found this project taking shape. What was it that they told you that this is what they intend to do? Further, I don't know, ICT is just maybe a medium which was to procure or to be used to get this e-census or to understand what this e-census. But do you have a director education or the person who is in charge of schools at the director level who should tell us whether he also or she also needed this e-census software, whether that was part of their request to the any department or to the PS? We want to know.
And from your submission, controlling officer, I'll refer you to your submission. On 11th April 2023, the ministry headquarters, that's page 27, the Ministry headquarters wrote to the 10 provincial education officers requesting all provincial education officers and their district education board secretaries to inform all public and private universities, colleges and schools within their jurisdiction to fully participate in the innovation. Why I've read this is that you said that you had no clue. And I know that on 11th April, you were holding that position, unless I'm mistaken. Because you were here on 2022, you were here. So 2023 April, you were in the office, and such activities. This is a very big project involving all your provincial education officers. There is no way that you can have no clue when something is happening within your office. Honorable Mukombi.
Thank you, Chair. And the report before us is purely owned by the controlling officer. It's a report. So she can't be telling us that what can I do? I don't even know about this matter. Chair, if she doesn't know about this matter, then who knows? And then who will take action as well? So she must own her report. And what we want to know is what happens from now going forward, or what measures did she put in place, or what has she done to correct this particular anomaly that happened in the ministry. Yes, we know we are aware there are 2 permanent secretaries, but there's one controlling officer. That's what we know for this particular head. Chair, so the controlling officer here must give us befitting answers. That she knows about the report, she knows about the matter, and what action has to be taken, or what action she has taken in the ministry. Chair, I submit.
So, a controlling officer, you should respond to the questions. I think so far we have 4 questions, because even my question is still pending on whether the pilot project took place before you communicate with the provincial officers over this project.
Chair.
Or maybe we take it back to the PS. PS can respond.
Thank you, members of this House. I will retain the issue of the pilot. I think those who have followed IT developments, the particular company in question has worked with the ministry from way back 2016. I was Deputy Lusaka then, and they worked with the province. And at the time they came through Director ICT, I personally was satisfied that we are dealing with people that have worked with us before. But obviously, from what the auditors have indicated now, there are those errors that have been pointed at, which have been acknowledged. So the pilot in this particular undertaking, they had been working with the ministry from way back 2016. But I think what we see at 2023 is that once they prepared documentation, my department was doing was right. It has turned out that what was done was inappropriate. So for me, I find whatever else you're going to say is not going to solve the inappropriacy, but rather you guide that this is how you handle in future. And I have learned from here that this was wrong. I have very little to defend because it's not going to benefit me or benefit the ICT director. Because I wouldn't know, was there anything he did behind the doors? But all I know is in good faith, I was trying to facilitate a process of facilitating the particular issue, which was the collection of census forms. So I had no suspicion otherwise to say there was an ill intent to share money or something else. So as far as I'm concerned, I was helping the process for purposes of the many concerns that have been raised. Unfortunately, it's apparent that it was not properly done. And as he has said, like the trail, I'm sure there's a file, and I think that file can be made available since even audit had access to it. And for instance, documentation which is inadequate, I take responsibility because I was the one who agreed to initiate this with the department, hoping we had satisfied all requirements. I submit.
Is legal here? They're not yet here. Honorable Palari.
I think my question has not been answered. I asked the controlling officer whether the director education is here, so that we find out from him or her on what role they played in acquiring this e-census software while we are waiting for these legal persons and the director ICT.
So director education?
Yes.
Do we have director education? So which director do we want?
Any of the two should be, because census will cover all the schools. So could we have, whether director higher education or director primary education, can they tell us if they requested for this census software?
So I would request for the two directors, higher education and is it secondary or primary, to come and sit in the front. Where are they? They're out here. Guide us, we don't know your structures.
Yeah.
Honorable Mfarat.
Sure. What we are trying to establish here is we want to know who is the source of this project. If the two directors are not there, where is director planning? Because at every stage of any hatching of any plan in any ministry, there should be a committee that sits. Was there a committee? And if there is no committee, can we know from the director planning where this thing came from? Because he plans for the ministry.
The planner? The people who requested for this project, who saw the need. Honorable Omnium.
I also just want to know if it's possible, controlling officer, in any scenario, to do a procurement without the procurement department. It's a unique case. I just want to know. We may be querying things that are happening.
So, PS, you can respond to that question.
Honorable Committee, it has already been admitted that the way this particular project was handled was a misnomer from initiation, and I think the auditors have given sufficient guide. For me, what I can only submit before you is that the intent to have the 3 booklets done is something that we do regularly. We are supposed to have statistical bulletins. Whether now at the end of the day we did the right thing, I think we've been guided that we did what is not the right way to go. So I wouldn't submit anything new, and this is not normally done by IT themselves. The people normally take care of statistical bulletins arising from the failure of the education management information system are supposed to be planning. But planning was separated and the ICT department was created, and they then took up to do these booklets. So I submit.
That's director planning.
Yes, please, Assistant Director Planning.
Okay, you can help us by responding to some of these queries. Who are the initiators of this project?
Thank you, members. What I would say is, as planning, we also require these statistics because most of the times when the statistics are needed, they are referred to planning because we are the custodians of these statistics.
Respond to that's not the question. The question from the honorable member was, in the ministry, before you start a project, there must be a need. You identify a need and then you request. So who started the project? Who requested for this project to start in the ministry?
I wouldn't answer categorically, but the need should come from the director secondary, director primary, because they're the ones who need those statistics. Our job is just to compile those statistics and make them ready for them.
And where are the directors, secondary and primary? Madam Controlling Officer. You are not here. Honorable members. Honorable Amien.
Chair, there was, it's clear this was, even if we call them, it was not in the procurement plan. The PS has labored to say this and that. The key thing is ICT and legal. Clearly there was no, there's no sign that there was an initiation as Honorable Mfalari is looking for. And just to say that I also labor like, I'm laboring in my mind like he is on the initiation part, but clearly from the submission, if we code them, they'll just say we also need the statistics, but we didn't initiate.
So since they are saying the legal man is coming, maybe we can progress and we hold this issue till the legal person comes. So we progress. We go to 67, page 67.
Yeah.
Honorable Mukumbi.
Chair, in as much as we have another PS here, the report is for the controlling office. We need her all the time here. If she has to go out, she has to get permission from you. We need her all the time.
I didn't even see her walking out. I was checking on the documents. Okay, guide. Honorable Woman.
I'll say maybe we can adjourn for 5 minutes since the controlling officer is outside.
Okay. I adjourn for 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes. Maybe Honorable just adjourn.
My eParliament mobile application. First, download the app on either Play Store or App Store and install. After installation, open the app. Step 1. Register your personal information, that's your names, gender, NRC and date of birth. Step 2. Add your contact information, your email, phone number and home address. Step 3. Select your constituency. Step 4. Create your 4-digit PIN. At this point, the system will send an SMS to your mobile number with a one-time passcode. Step 5. Confirm with one-time passcode that was sent to your mobile. Step 6. Sign in using your phone number and the 4-digit PIN. And Step 7. Create your submission and submit. My eParliament, bringing Parliament closer to you.
This is the sensitive part where you need to react quick.
It's a false line to Salah!